Greetings, I'm Caffeine Rich, and welcome back to the Sunday Sampler. This week we're going to be taking a quick look at Songbringer. This is an action-adventure Zelda-like, I guess would be the easiest shorthand for this. This is a self-published title by Wizard Fu Games, and as per usual, this is a review copy of the game. So, Songbringer, as you can see on the screen, I have two save files here with ballpark a little over 3 hours into it, and I've actually really enjoyed this game so far. That's not to say I have my problems, or not have problems with it, because I'm me, but that's beside the point. So, I'm just going to dive right into a new game and ignore the two save files I have to show you the early game for a little bit of, well, it's the easiest way to really explain everything, and also shows you a couple interesting cutscenes to show you the very, very nice pixel art. So, new game, regular mode. This does have a permadeath. This is, well, I guess I should have thrown roguelite into that mix of genres as well, because this does have a procedural generation system where all the overworld and all the dungeons are different depending on the seed. So we'll just do a regular game. And this is how we determine what everything is. It's determined by a 6-word, or 6-character, I should say, seed. And this could be really anything. So, but if we just, leave it blank and hit enter, it'll just give us stable for our 6-character word. And it does seem like these are all words and not just completely random. If you do completely random, I assume that it does work. And that's why the two save files had oddball names on them. That's their seed. So if you want to see what I've been up to, you can use those two seeds. I will say that the second one I've stalled out on. I'm probably just missing something, and that's that will be talked about in a little bit. So dive in, stable, and we're seeding the world. I'm assuming that this screen means something. I'm not sure. I have no idea, but what the hell. And we'll just watch the interesting 13,000 years ago. And this is a very, very low FPS cutscene. I don't know why it does this. Or at least that initial bit. Then, once it gets here, it's fine. It's just that one opening. It looks like it's, running at like 10 FPS. It's just not particularly smooth, but I will say overall, the art in this is rather amazing. And pixel art's one of those things that it's very much a subjective thing. If you absolutely hate pixel art, you're going to hate this game for having pixel art. But if you don't mind pixel art, it's one of those things that it does pixel art very well, and it has a lot of interesting effects to make it so that the world isn't just a flat 2D plane. You can see the shadows on the trees there, and all the shadows there. Gives the ability to pop, so it doesn't feel like it's a 2D game from like the late 80s. I'm just gonna let this completely play out just to let you really see what's going on. And this is our protagonist. He is a scout for the ship Songbringer. And don't ask me why he doesn't have a shirt. They actually kind of... Rock, I believe is the pronunciation for this. Don't you remember that lightning bolt? Oh, the one that just struck us from our bike? I'll make note of possible brain damage incurred. There is a bit of a sense of humor about this game that I really like. So, this is our protagonist and his robotic sidekick. And we have our world map, equipment screen. Pretty much standard fare for a Zelda-like. But it has that sci-fi twist that you don't really see all that often in this genre. Usually it is fantasy games, so let's just go ahead. I'm going to explore a little bit and ignore the cave that has our, stabby sword in it, because, oh, maybe I shouldn't, because there's enemies here. Yeah. If only I had something to slash with. About that. But yeah, you can see just how well done the pixel art is. I'm really impressed by that, including the reflections, which sometimes the pixel arts. There's one thing that bugs me about it is that some scenes are very, very busy because I'm using the term scene as in each one of these blocks because that's how the world is generated in the procedural way. It's using a chunk-based system as far as I can tell where, yeah, this block, it seems to be pretty, or yeah, you have your starting screen or your starting block and it builds out from there. So you have this block, which I think I may have encountered before, but it won't always be next to this one. But some of these individual blocks are so busy that sometimes you'll lose your character and he doesn't really pop out from the scene. As a matter of fact, this is a really good example of this where he kind of blends in for the exception of his hat. Don't ask me why he has a top hat and pants, but his shirtless torso kind of blends in to the pale background. Here he pops out a little bit more. Ooh, money. A diamond. Yeah, instead of rubies, it's diamonds. And these strong pillars have weak internal lacing. Inhuman, please. If only I had something that could explode. Oh, I've thought that so many times. Oh, and more enemies. There is supposedly a way to do this swordless. I'll go ahead and grab the sword because I don't really have a way to do this otherwise. I'm assuming that there's some sort of trick about it, but it's there is an achievement for swordless runs. Someone left a perfectly good-looking sword here. Nah, what's the worst that could happen? And I'm really impressed by some of the cutscene work in this game. It's done really well. But yeah, there's achievements for swordless runs. There's achievements for permadeath runs. So the nano sword, it hums. Probably not a good thing. But oh, combat. Actually, okay, I would say I was doing fairly well, but then I got hit a couple times. Combat is a little chunkier than you may expect. It's not exactly as smooth as you would, as I would have liked. That's saying it is something that you get used to after a while, but it has more of a learning curve to it than I would have really liked to see in a Zelda-like game. Zelda has, and I'm going to refer to particularly the older Zeldas a fair bit. I played Link's Awakening on the Game Boy almost to completion, and I know I rented the original Legend of Zelda and Zelda 2 at some point. So I do have a little bit of knowledge of Zelda, or particularly the old school stuff. I've never beaten them, but there's a certain feel to the combat, and that is a rather neat shadow effect. Look at that. It's one of those things that it's a nice touch, but getting back to the combat, there's a certain momentum to a thing. So you could see there's a deliberate pausing, so you don't want to just spam well, in this case, the sword button. But also, I may not get it yet, or may not get it in this video. But whenever, well, I could probably show you. Yeah, he'll sheathe the sword whenever he's going into a scene like this. Now, coming out, obviously there's not going to be any enemies here. But because he sheathes his sword, and you have to draw it again, and that's probably about half a second. I have had unavoidable damage in scene transitions like that, or just going from one scene to another on the overworld. I'm pretty sure that the enemies naturally still move around to some degree, And because of that, I've had enemies standing literally in the doorway whenever something dies, or well, I should say whenever something is whenever I'm moving in between scenes. And it gives me unavoidable damage. And the thing is that it's not that big a deal for normal runs. Oh, that allows me to see on the map where to go, but I'm not going to worry about that too much. It's not that big a deal in normal runs, but for permadeath mode, it would be a lot more galling to lose a permadeath run because of unavoidable damage. Granted, it doesn't happen terribly often, but when it does, it's irritating. So we'll just go up here, choppy. So that's pretty much my beef with the combat. Well, you can see right here where it has a night cycle, which I'm not sure what just how long the day-night cycle is. I didn't time it, but it's very difficult to see those lines until our little buddy comes up here because he's the light source for us. You can see, matter of fact, let's right there. So I got too close here, and yeah, now I'm purposely showing you on this screen because I could just go down here. It's not like Zelda where there's only one little section that you could transition from. But that's the idea, is that sometimes enemies have are kind of wandered over here, and also the enemies could go further beyond this side of the screen than your normal transition. So you can see like right there is the transition point. I've had enemies be almost completely off the screen. So yeah, it's a minor thing in the grand scheme of things, unless you're wanting to do permadeath runs. But it's one of those things that it shouldn't be there, and that's my biggest problem with the combat, that I'm kind of nitpicking. That said, the game overall I really like, and it has a strong, right there you can see the enemy kind of go up to the very edge of the screen. It has a very strong focus on linear gameplay, taking things out of order, and also exploration of this randomized world. Let's go down here and see what's up, or I should say going down. Nothing I could do in here yet. This may be something later. And that's also another thing, is that the game is just... Oh, wait, there's something over here. What is this? A top hat drone. That's the first time I've gotten it this way. I've usually had to kill an enemy for it, but yeah, it's our boomerang. I mean, that's the best way to put it. Translating it into Zelda-ese, boomerang. Only it's a top hat. Total Biscuit, be proud. But because of how non-linear it can be one of those things where you can run into a situation where you are going the wrong way. That there's no way for you to progress without just doing something completely different. Which, and we encountered the store. There's nothing in the middle. Scanner drones, which reveals the map, and biodetector, which I believe that shows where the dungeons are. Matter of fact, to give you an idea how non-linear this is, I accidentally did Dungeon 2 instead of Dungeon 1 on my initial playthrough. Or I shouldn't say playthrough, but playtesting. And I had no problems getting through it at all. Well, outside of the usual, okay, what do I do here? Because it was more puzzle-oriented, and there's different themes, according to the store page, the way that they called it. Where some are more combat-oriented, some are more puzzle-oriented, some are, just very, very difficult. Oh, I'm getting hit there. Oh, what is this? This particular map has a lot of caves. I haven't encountered this many caves in the early game. Oh, okay. I don't want to do this. This is kind of a peyote-fueled side dungeon. It wouldn't be particularly interesting, but there you go. If you want to see that fairly easily, well, there you go. Oh, look, it's an arch. It's an archway thing. But yeah, there's hints that, you know, there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. I'm not too far in the story, so I can't really give, you know, any spoilers even if I wanted to. But it's interesting so far, and I'm probably going to play through the rest of this over, you know, who knows how long. Because, yeah, I tend to play games and just in long stretches, I should say. Okay, so come on, I mean, I don't have to kill these, but I want to. And besides, it gives me money. Okay, so some other thoughts on this game. Well, I'm starting to go on to the procedural generation of it, where you could see how things are kind of shaping up here. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and use that, and we'll see what's going on with the map. Okay, so we have something over here. So let's move towards it. Oh, monies. Oh, right, that was a dead end. Would help if I read the map. So down, 2, then hang a left, 2, and then up 1 and left 1, most likely. I would have liked to see the overworld map be more than just the dungeon style map, but oh, can't go this way, so I have to go down 2. But, yo, it's nitpicking at that point. Oh. Oh. Taking some stupid damage. Thankfully, I didn't do permadeath. Oh, okay, this is the first dungeon. So we'll pop into here. I won't complete it, but this will give you an idea of, you know, dungeon-wise. And a little bit more exposition. And how our hero, assuming that he's a hero, met his robotic sidekick. And I'm not going to read this, I'll just, you know, tap through it. But the game does offer a lot of replayability, just where the randomized overworld and randomized dungeons, we'll see if this dungeon is something I've encountered before, is throws a lot of wrenches into what could be a stale game. That's not saying that it has infinite replayability, because no game does, particularly ones that have chunk-based procedural generation, because, you know, you're going to see the same rooms over and over again. Rooms, I use that in the kind of Binding Isaac term there. But, you know, the same chunks over and over again. Yeah, Jib. They're friends. But because you'll run to the same things occasionally, I don't recognize this one. And we're going in here with half a bar, but we'll just die and go, oh, or try to cycle around to grab that health. Come on, grab health, got health. Get health, want health. And that's our treasure chest. Key card. A small key, essentially. There's no boss keys as far as I could tell. But, and this does show kind of the what I would consider the weakest thing in this, is that I may not be able to do this dungeon yet. Just because I'm lacking explosives. But the soundtrack, not particularly enthralled by it. It's not bad, but it's not amazing. Yeah, it's kind of a long, droning soundtrack. Doesn't really... yeah, do it for me. It's just... I know, once again, it's entirely subjective, but... Come on, die. Oh, oh. And... one more for you. Oh, there's another one there. He was hiding in the corner. The jerk. 100 diamonds. Feeling rich. Unfortunately, they're industrial grade. Okay, so we'll just go up here. Oh, and there's spiders, because of course there is. And health. The game does seem to be very generous on its pickups. It may just be, you know, I'm still in the early game though, which is entirely possible. And see, this is a good example of the place being a little too busy, because in order to deal damage to this central enemy, I have to destroy all the little ones. But because, you know, it was hiding behind this thing, and the fact that they're very small and, you know, kind of blend in, it was very easy to miss them. What is this? Bombs. Okay. So, I get Big Boom. Which is what we needed to get through the dungeon. I'm itching to make something explode. Blocked. Oh. Okay, so we had to go to the main room to make something explode. More health. And what is up here? That would be the boss. So, yeah. Wasn't expecting to show the boss, but what the hell at this point, right? If you find the turn of phrase for this. Oh boy. Okay, grab health. Yeah, I'm focusing a little bit. Awesome. Oh, shit. More bombs. Yeah. I'm definitely happy to focus. Oh, and I got killed. Oh. Yeah, I gave into fear, but at least we could teleport right back to him. Yeah, I want to give him another shot. I want to show the, the boss. Because I think I just, didn't do all that well myself. Well, obviously. Oh, what? That's what I was kind of talking about with, being able to lose track. Because I was above him and I couldn't really see exactly where I was too easily. Oh, and that looked like a hit below me, actually. Let's just call it there, I guess. Because I'm not really wanting to sit here and focus on this. Particularly whenever I'm trying to do, like, first impressions. guard stairs. But I think we're pretty much wrapped up anyway, because there's not a lot else to talk about. Yeah, I think I covered just about everything I wanted to. Kind of funny that the boss is so close to the entrance. Look at that, because right there's the boss room. There's the teleport. It literally takes us one tile over. Anyway, I think we are done here. So that is Songbringer. I'm just gonna leave it right here, I guess. Overall, I like it. Combat is a little clunky. It could definitely be a lot smoother. The nonlinear gameplay can make it so that, like, for example, that door to the north I can't get to without another item that obviously, well, unless it's the item that I get for this, and it's somewhat randomized, I just won't be able to unlock that door until much later whenever I get a particular item. And no, I'm not going to say what that item is. And yes, I do know what that item is. But because of that, you know, I'm leaving part of the dungeon unexplored. And that's just the non-linear nature of things. If I went to another place and got that particular item, I would have been able to explore an extra part of the dungeon. And if that bugs you, if you want the more structured... Oh, it actually paused. Huh. Because I have my... I guess because it's not getting any input from me. That's a nice touch. That's a very nice touch. I like that. Because I don't even have my gamepad in my hand right now. I'm finishing up. And I will say that it probably is best to play with a gamepad. I don't think it will have any major issues playing with a mouse and keyboard. But that's... for this style of game, you know, gamepad's pretty much standard anyway. And I got completely thrown off my train of thought. The procedural generation and the focus of nonlinear gameplay and exploration can make it a little bit annoying if, you know, you're just missing one thing to be able to kind of just cause a domino effect to unlock a lot of other stuff. And that's perfectly understandable if, you know, that's not your thing. If you want a more structured dungeon-to-dungeon, old-style Zelda experience, well, there's the old style of Zeldas, or, you know, the games that more closely follow that particular formula instead of going a more roguelite twist of things like this does. But because of that, you know, it does offer a lot more replayability than a traditional Zelda game does. With, I would ballpark 6 to 8 hours for a playthrough, with added time depending on just how much you get stuck. My first save file has pretty much up to Dungeon 3 done at an hour and some change. Or I think it was up to just over 2 hours, now that I think about it, because I went in and was toying around with some other things and trying out some things to, you know, for combat-wise. But I'm pretty much at the end of Dungeon 3, or, you know, have 3 dungeons done, I should say. And that if it's an 8 to 9 dungeon experience like the achievements suggest, then, you know, it'll put it at about 6 to 8 hours with, you know, ballpark around there, which isn't bad for, you know, an indie game these days, to be perfectly honest. In general, not even counting the randomization. Only major down point I have on it is the soundtrack. It's kind of droning and particularly inspired. You know, doesn't really pop out for me. It just kind of falls in the background, and with it turned up, it just is kind of droning, which, you know, that and some unavoidable damage. But, you know, if this was more permadeath or forced permadeath, it would be a lot bigger negative point than just a minor annoyance. But, you know, if you're doing permadeath runs, I think you're going to be running the same seed over and over again to try to get a feel for things. But I think we are done here. So, as always, constructive feedback is greatly appreciated, either in the comments below, or if you don't really have anything to say but want to let me know that you've enjoyed or even hated this, hit the appropriate buttons and subscribe if you wish to see more of the Sunday Sampler, my Let's Play stuff, or the podcast that I do with a friend of mine. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back with more next time.